Okay, guys, so since some of you had the nerve not to do this first Savas lesson quiz I gave you a few weeks ago, I'm going to give you another shot today. And the key thing is I need you to watch this video, study it, but more importantly, you're going to put this title on a page in your notebook and you're going to take notes on these problems because I want it to be a learning experience. Okay? And along the way, I'm going to show you a few little tips to remind you, little algebra tricks, let's call it, that may help you in the future. Okay? But anyways, let's get going here. So, this first problem here, guys, I am not going to do for you because this one's very straightforward. We did it a million times over the last month or so. But I do want to do the more difficult ones. Like this is our problem 2 because there's a fraction in there. Now, how do we set it up? Well, we know that if y equals this and this y equals this, logically, they got to equal each other, right? Because they both equal y. We want them to equal each other to solve the system, in other words. So we're going to take the negative 1/2 x squared. We're going to set it equal to x minus 4. Now, we need, because it is a quadratic, we need it to be equal to 0 to solve it. So the next step's got to be minusing x and adding 4 to both sides. And what we're going to get is negative 1/2 x squared minus x plus 4. That's what all of this here is, right? Equal to 0, 0. So it's equal to 0. Now, there's a cool trick I want to share with you because some of you don't like that fraction 1/2 in front. Well, because the denominator is 2, guys, we're going to just times everything. We mean everything. We're going to use distributive property here. We're going to times every number and term by 2. So 2 times negative 1/2, and by the way, you could do this on your calculator if you really need to, is negative 1x squared. Because the 2's cancel each other out. The 2 times negative x is negative 2x. The 2 times 4 is 8. And of course, 2 times 0 is still 0. Now, this is where some of you will just go ahead and use the quadratic formula. Okay? But I want to share with you another trick, and I'm going to do it with factoring. I don't like this negative in front, so I'm now going to times everything by a negative or negative 1 to get rid of that negative. So negative 1 times negative x squared is x squared. Negative 1 times negative 2x is a positive 2x. Negative 1 times 8 is negative 8. It's equal to 0. Negative 1 times 0, of course, is 0, right? Now I'm ready for the x method. I notice I have a negative 8 for my product. I have a positive 2 for my sum. I know that 4 times 2 is 8. To get this negative but also get 2, I need to do 4 minus 2. So now I know x plus 4 and x minus 2 somehow has to equal 0. And that means negative 4 and 2 are my roots, right? Now, A is to trick you guys. Don't forget we need to plug them in. So if I plug in negative 4, isn't negative 4 here minus 4 negative 8? So there's negative 4, negative 8. If I took this 2 and plugged it in, isn't 2 there minus 4 negative 2? And so that's why the correct answer is C. Okay, now this one, it is a word problem. So hopefully by now you realize here we have our quadratic function, here we have our line. We're basically seeing where they meet each other. This describes the slope of the hill going up, and we want to see where the ball hits the side of the hill. And I'll show you a better picture of that with decimals here shortly. But the whole point is we set them equal to each other. So negative 1/4 x squared plus 33 over 5x will equal 1 over 5x. Now, some of you, again, are sitting there like going, whoa, well, what do we do? We have multiple fractions in here, right? So how about we do this, guys? Because this one has a denominator of 4 and these have a denominator of 5. What's 4 times 5? 20. If we times by 20, guys, we're going to distribute 20 to every single term here, the fractions go away. So again, the trick is when you have fractions, you times by their common denominators, and the fractions are gone. Now, this is where you definitely would want to use your calculator, some of you. But what's 20 times negative 1/4? Well, 20 divides by 4 5 times, so I get negative 5x squared. What's 20 times 33 over 5? Well, 5 goes into 20 4 times, and 4 times 33 is 1. Now, again, what I'm doing is I'm doing in my head, but you would just do this on the calculator, right? And so I get 132x equals. What about 20 times 1/5? Well, 1/5 of 20 is 4 times x is 4x. Now, because it's x squared, I got to make it equal 0. I'm going to minus 4x both sides. So negative 5x squared plus 128x, because 132 minus 4 is 128, equals 0. Now, some of you freak out because, oh no, there's no number in here. Well, that means c equals 0, guys. So if you really wanted to, you could just go ahead and use a quadratic formula, put in c for 0, right? And you can solve this, okay? But what I'm going to do is actually factor it. So how do we factor this? Well, notice how both terms have an x or x squared in them. So I'm going to factor out an x. I'm literally going to divide by x here, guys. And what I get here, x squared over x is x. So I'm going to get negative 5x plus, here the x's cancel. I just got 128. It's equal to 0. Now that I have it factored, right here, how can this x be 0? Well, it has to be 0. So that's one possible answer. What about this here? Well, for this to be 0, doesn't it have to be negative 128? Because negative 128 plus 128 is 0. That means negative 5x has to equal negative 128. I'm going to divide by negative 5. And now I have to do negative 128 divided by negative 5 to get my answer. Now I'm going to go ahead and use the calculator here. So notice that negative 128 divided by negative 5 is 25.6. Now, our first answer, 0, makes sense because that's where we started when we threw the ball up the hill. Okay, at time 0, the ball is in your hand, you're together, right? But this is the answer we wanted. We just figured out that 25.6 seconds later, so that's our answer. 25.6 seconds later, we know that's when the ball is going to hit the side of the hill. Okay? Now, guys, what I just did is add a quick picture on Desmos here. And here is the ground. The x-axis is our ground. Notice right here at time 0, 0, right? That's where we started to throw this ball upwards. And here's our hillside right here. Let me use a different color. So when does our ball finally hit the side of the hill? Right here at 25.6. And that, of course, matches our answer. Okay? Now let's do one more as quickly as possible. Now, guys, it's already set up for you, but notice there is a 5/2 fraction. So the first thing we're going to do, let's times everything by 2. Literally everything. Don't miss anything. So 2 times 2 is 4x squared. 2 times 5 is 10x. 2 times negative 8 is negative 16. 2 times 5/2, the 2 goes away. So we have 5x. And 2 times 20 is 40. Now we have to get it equal to 0. I'm going to minus 5x. And I'm going to minus 40. So let's see what we have here. 4x squared. 10 minus 5 is 5x. Negative 16 and negative 40 is negative 56, equal to 0. And again, this is where you can go ahead and use the quadratic formula, guys, but I'm going to factor this, okay? So, unfortunately, I have to use the annoying X method, which some of you kind of remember I'm not a big fan of. I like doing it my way. But we're going to do 4 times negative 56. Don't forget to times those together, guys. And let's see what 4 times negative 56 is. It's negative 224. And we need a 5 as our sum. Now, negative 56 and 4 cannot make 5. So I need another combination of negative 224, right? That gives me 5. Now, guys, I just stumbled upon a very important lesson. I was trying to factor this, but guess what? I can't factor this. See, some quadratics you cannot factor. I have no choice but to do the quadratic formula, which I will do right now. Okay, so I just paused the video to add some of my work. So again, I'm now going to go ahead and do the quadratic formula on because I couldn't factor it. And sometimes that happens. So hopefully we agree that B is 5, A is 4, C is negative 56. Here you can see I plugged it into the quadratic formula. And we all should know negative B plus or minus square root B squared minus 4AC all over 2A, right? And as I simplify my work, remember, save this square root for last. And we end up knowing that the square root of 921 is 30.3. So I have negative 5 plus or minus 30.3 divided by 8. And if I do my two options, I have to do plus and minus the 30.3. I get 3.16 and negative 4.41. Now, this one we generally ignore because if it's dealing with time, we can't go backwards in time. And so this is my one usual sole answer. But as you can see in the problem, they didn't want you to put it in context. So we're going to solve for both of them. And we have to do a little rounding off here. So that's 3.2 there, and that's negative 4.4. And it looks like it's choice A. Now notice how B, they switched the negative signs on you guys. Be careful of that. That's one of the common ways they trick you. Okay, but the correct answer, I hope you agree, is B. A. B is the trick one, right? So guys, I hope you watch and study this video. You're taking notes in your notebook and you make this a learning experience. If there's anything in this video you don't understand, anything, please speak up in class, bring it to me so I can make sure it's clarified. I'll see you in class soon.